Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Arrow Season 2, Episode 16, Suicide Squad. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for the episode and the ones leading up to it, and another episode I absolutely loved. So I am going to start with the one deleted scene on the Blu-ray. Basically, just Roy is constantly, we are told, is constantly following around. We're told in the episode as well that's he's the one making sure Thea isn't attacked by Slade, and she's trying to get him to, because they both work at Verdant. She's trying to get him to do one thing while he says he'll help her with the thing she's doing. And they even have, she says she was about to go deal with the recycling, and he says, "I'll come help you." To which she says, "You couldn't be the more perfect boyfriend if you tried, so stop trying." I'm playing up her. She's not quite that angry with him, but get you someone who will help with the recycling. It is pretty ridiculous how many guys refuse to. Anyway, then Roy goes to talk to Oliver, explains he even jokes that she's about to take out a restraining order on him for following constantly. Oliver and Dig talk about, let's see, I think it was it Moira. There's like 4, following her for Dig, and he assures Oliver that they're keeping enough of a distance that there's no way she would find out about them. And then says, tells Oliver about the mission he goes on here and that he's going in with a team. So, good scene, probably just cut for time. And yes, so let's see. The very first scene of this episode was let's see. I think it might have been, was it Dig and I honestly don't remember for sure, but I think I think it was Oliver waking up, and he has a nightmare about Shadow, in his bed, dead, and looking right at him saying murderer, like, holy crap. It's really getting to him. And, we're told later he hasn't been getting enough sleep. There's the thing about, when was the last time you got any sleep? Before I found out about Slade going after my family, so a week, like, that's very, no wonder that let's see, and so he leaves. I forget if, I think we see him get to, so he talks to the Bratva, and, the Bratva says, right. I'm trying not to just summarize. I liked that, Oliver says, he's not going to do a favor for the Bratva. This is like, and grabs the guns and because, this is too, like, he cannot be out on a mission for the Bratva just in case there is an attack on his family. And it's also showing how much he's being pushed. Sarah points out it's too much for him. He needs to let her in. And I think that does bring us to, Dig is watching Felicity, and I like that she doesn't bring coffee, she brings hot cocoa, but no marshmallows. And the let's see. Yeah, and I quite appreciated her saying, not to worry so much, because I mean we know that she also sometimes worries, but she doesn't want, and it is like there is some truth to, like you can't control everything, and yeah, I think that brings us to yeah, and yeah, John, gets the is that when I think that might be when John gets the text. So he goes and and yeah, there's no it's unclear who's it from. So of course, he and we think this is maybe dangerous, but it turns out to be Lila. And the yeah, the bit where he's, so she's like gently kissing him, and he's like he can't exactly tell her what's going on, so he's trying to like downplay it, and at the same time, like, she's right there, and they are, you know enjoying spending time together. So yeah, it's very difficult for him to turn down this, yeah. And I think that brings us to, is that when we get the first flashback maybe? And yeah, very good use of the flashback, the whole format, to show how Golem, why he thinks of Dig as he does. And we also see the very first time Lila and Dig met. And yeah, I can see how, the bit near the end where she says that, once there's a Kalashnikov, that's not a kid anymore. And it's one of those things, like, yeah, Dig is struggling with it, and she's simultaneously being supportive, but also, we do see, yeah, she is, even back then, she says at one point in this episode she hasn't really changed. Back then she also was willing to, if it was the way to resolve a situation, then she was willing to get into gray area. And let's see, I think, yeah, really, really appreciate them bringing up and then properly addressing, so yeah, the Diggle's, the other guy says, oh, right, and yeah, she's already calling him Johnny. But yeah, by the end of this episode, I mean. But yes, the other guy is like, women in the military. And then, because she, shows empathy towards a local, she finds out information that otherwise would have, you know, yeah, like, they didn't realize that. They could have, lost this guy. Yeah, very nicely done. And yeah, Dig saying, "What in the military, huh?" And it is very true. Like, there are a number of cases where, a woman in the military. I've also heard of, like, firefighters, and just, yeah, various, it's stuff that's traditionally male dominated, and once you have women in there, like, yeah, they are often better at, yeah, showing empathy and really relating to the people that they are, after all, there to protect. And that's helped with a number of situations. So yeah, I think that does bring us to, so the but then, in addition to, you don't have to just take my word for, the ways in which minorities can really make things better. Cat Black just did recently a video about, let's see. I believe I can recall the title. I'm afraid my wrists are too sore to look it up right now. I believe it's called Turning Point USA is Grooming. It's something like that, at least. There might be one more word in there, but yeah. And yeah, it's fantastic, as her videos usually are. I think that brings us to when, yeah, Felicity explains about, well, there's the, don't know if the camera picked that up, but that was fireworks. I would say that I'm really looking forward to New Year's Eve when that, when people will use the remaining fireworks. But around here, there's sometimes like a little while after where people use, because they spent too much money buying too much of it for it to all be fired in one night, which might be a clue that you're going a little too far with it. I appreciate there's some aesthetic appeal to fireworks. I do feel bad for dogs and such for being scared by the loud noises. Now, yes, Felicity talking about, well, all I found out from satellite photos was that he's not on a roof, at least in this scene, and all I found out from the hacking was he's not using rental cars, which, like, yeah. And again, appreciate, occasionally we do see these limitations to, it's not that she isn't amazing, it's that, sometimes the person they're up against is really, really good at, in this case, covering their tracks, in the case of Clock King, of fighting back via computer, so very nicely done. And I think they're doing a good job of balancing, like most of the time she has been basically unchallenged, and that has really made us feel like, okay, yeah, it basically works out when she does, and that makes it all the more impactful when one time it doesn't. And, those episodes derive drama from other sources. Yeah. The thing about, there's a crime in progress. We still fight crime, don't we? Because that's the thing, like, how much is he going to let Slade take over? He's not making progress, really. So, yeah. And I think that brings us to when, the wall shows up, and yeah, I did appreciate, she's like, okay, so what you're saying is you did something the American government, might arguably benefit from, but they don't really want to know about. You kept it hidden as best you could, and you didn't miss, like, an important assignment in order to do it. Like, you did it in between jobs. Yeah, it gets the Amanda Waller stamp of approval. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And yeah, the fact that Dig has to join, that was, yeah, he's about to excuse himself, but it's, yeah, he was like, well, I guess if it can't be any different, but it's so much worse because he has to participate in this thing that, yeah. And I think that brings us to the part where Sarah catches Oliver with the Bratva. And I did like, he hears a noise, we hear a noise, and it's like, Slade, Oh, right, loved when Slade was there on the roof behind Oliver, like, holy crap. And Oliver senses it, but by the time he looks, Slade's already gone. He goes up there to see, and it's just completely gone. So he is watching him. And I think that might bring us to I think that's the next scene with, yeah, so, yes, Dig goes to, yeah, there's the titular Suicide Squad. So, I forget if I came right out and said it last time that I talked about it, but yeah, This was something that I had heard about for, from years ago. Actually, come to think of it, I think it might have been in reviews of the movie. Some reviews, they were like, well, Arrow did a Suicide Squad, but yeah. Um, it's hard for me to overstate how much more I love this episode than the 2016 movie. Overall, I'm not sure it quite reaches the heights of the 2021 Suicide Squad movie, but that one is also, like, it really sets a high bar. Now, yeah, I think I quite appreciated the way that, you know, several times Lila and Dig talk about, moral grays, and is this very different from what, like Sarah and Oliver, they've killed people. I think, does that pretty much get us to, yeah, what can I say? Sometimes my memory and focus are not the best, and those of you who stick around during lulls in my videos, you have the patience of Zelensky standing and listening to Trump ramble on about how, oh, Russia wants Ukraine to succeed. Like, wow. Now, I think that does bring us... Yeah, yeah, really, really love Dig, going in there, and yeah, I guess it's just in Floyd Lawton's nature, not only in this particular iteration, to say, are we some kind of Suicide Squad? And the, yeah, very cool to see the, yeah, all three of them on the squad. And yeah, Lawton, Tiger, and Shrapnel, I mean. And the, yeah, I think that's when the, yeah, there's definitely something around. Is this maybe when Oliver, let's see. Yeah. So Oliver and the Lance sisters at Verdant. Yeah. Her comment about the virgin drink. Yeah, they really do feel like sisters. It's such a well done job. She'll make a comment like that about the drink, which, like, to a bartender, to someone who's making something that's supposed to taste good, saying it tastes terrible is obviously quite the insult. But she is also trying to, she says, she recognizes, okay, Oliver's not opening up to Sarah, and yeah, her being supportive is really great to see. And then, Oliver and Laurel talking, and she's like, well, brutal honesty AA is, and the, yeah, I appreciated him acknowledging it must be difficult for her to help with this relationship, and yeah, her just like listing all the different things that, yeah, that might make that a reality. I think that does bring us to the yeah. So yeah, the squad talking. I like the thing about, please stop giving Shrapnel books. Yeah. So he's the chatty one who Floyd finds annoying, and yeah, I don't know. From the comics that I've read and such, I suppose he, at least in this episode, kind of takes the, he's the Captain Boomerang. And I think that does bring us to, yeah, so before they leave the cell area. So this is a reference that I don't hesitate to just come right out and say, because like if you know pretty much anything about that character, you immediately clocked off-screen Harley Quinn cameo. Love it. Yeah, I was wondering, I wasn't expecting Suicide Squad this early, and as such, I was thinking, are they gonna do Harley Quinn because the Joker hasn't appeared yet? But yeah, having her off screen like that works well. And I thought it was great. We and Dig briefly see, Deadshot's got a shrine to Zoe. And I think that does bring us to the actual mission and the right. I thought it worked well that so earlier, they even have the thing about, oh, don't worry, Arrow's not invited to this, because she has a team now. She doesn't need. Yeah, very very nicely done on that. And we've seen her, we saw her recruit some for the team. And I feel like that. Oh wait, yeah, that this must be around where we get the second flashback. So yeah, the oh right, and I love the Slade left a the mask with an arrow through the eye. But yeah, the flashback. So excuse me. The part where the yes, the let's see. Yes, the second one was the one where Golem is trying to make a run for it and is almost shot, and is saved by Dig. So yeah, really nicely done. Yeah, and I like that they talk about, well, he still thinks of you as the guy who saved his life. So we know, okay, something's gonna happen then. And yeah, so they go on the mission, and the thing with Deadshot, he is aiming at Dig, and we again have, what's stopping you from shooting? Honor. Why did I teach him that word? And yeah, very clever that so he accidentally bumps into Golem, who is like, I didn't know you were funny. I mean, clumsy, but happy to see you. And yeah, the really nicely done on the miss. And on the previously on, we had the thing about that Deadshot never misses, and though he does mister, and he we get that little sly smile of his, and now we know he wasn't going off script when he aimed at Dig, so yeah. And the let's see, and it is very clever, to have this thing of like, well, obviously Golem is gonna invite him now, and yeah, Tiger posing as wait, no, in that scene it was Tiger posing as security for Dig. It's only later that it's Lila, and yeah, Deadshot going like, well, I'm I'm headed out, but I'm not the only one. Yeah, it's not every single Suicide Squad story, but some of them, yeah. At least one person will disobey orders and get killed. And I cared more when it happened here than in at least one other version, which I cannot detail without spoiling that version, but there's some chance that you know what I'm talking about, because I was not the only person who found that very frustrating. Anyway, I think that does bring us... yeah, and understandably, Dig is he is not okay with the, the device. And yeah. Right, and I like that we do see Waller, she tells him return, and he says no. And then she's like, okay. I mean, we put a lot of R&D into making these. I've been meaning to test them out, so thank you. And the yeah, very clever about the making the fingerprint thing so that Deadshot can get in, because those guards don't know what Dig looks like. I think that brings us... I feel like there's one thing missing, but what is it? Yeah, maybe I'll remember by the end of the... Yeah. Oh, is this when... This might be the point in the episode where, so yeah, Oliver has gotten the the information. Sarah has pointed out it's really messed up for him to be working with Bratva. And, and it's one of those things, this is something I really love about comic book media. Who understands what he's going through better than her? So, because a lot of these things, it's like, well, nobody really understands. Well, she knows Slade, she knew and cared about Shadow. She's not saying that she's never made a mistake. On the contrary, it's this thing of like, she has now left Ra's al Ghul. For a while, she was, killing people for them, for Ra's and the League, so she understands, sometimes you end up in situations like this and you might need someone to help get you out of it. I think that does bring us to... So yeah, they come back from the wait, I guess I've pretty much said... No, yeah, I like the thing about, we should have popcorn for this show, and the yeah, so they go on the mission, and we have another of these. I do love when the show does this. So, he points out, I mean, what if he recognizes you, though? What then? And before she has a chance to answer, Golem is there. So it's like, does she have a plan, or was she just hoping that, and he does later recognize her. Now, I think that brings us... I guess it's not impossible that he recognized her and maybe thought that Dig had like gotten her to stop. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure when exactly he knew that was her. Anyway, excuse me, I think that brings us to... Yeah, well done on the thing of, so there's a bit of tension when the when Deadshot is standing, he's drinking and he's like flirting, and we and Dig notice, and it's like, is it, because he's been in a cell for a while, can he just not handle being around, when did he last get to have a drink, kind of thing. But he doesn't actually end up doing, yeah. So because it's also, at the same time, I mean, it's not like he's, barely able to walk and then suddenly he can somehow. No, he may have gotten somewhat, tipsy, but not so much that it just completely ruins everything. And the I think that brings us to, so yeah, he goes off, he finds the hidden area with the what's it called again, the nerve agent. And yeah, it becomes clear that Waller knew they wouldn't be able to move it. She just needed to be, she wanted to be sure that it was in that particular building, and that's it. Yeah, the squad are expendable, and so's everyone to Waller inside that building. Yeah. I found this to be a much more accurate, you know, comic accurate version of Amanda Waller than the 2016 movie. I think, does that pretty much get us to right? I loved when they when Floyd and Dig talk about Zoe, and this thing. Yeah. How many enemies can she have at that age? And he explains, well, the money just goes into a blind trust. It doesn't, and yeah, the thing about, a girl needs her father, not this father. And yeah, by the end, he is willing to, I guess I'll just do it in order. So he says, the thing about, you're not getting out of this that easy, because he should atone for what he's done, but Floyd doesn't think he can, And I like him, the thing about, there's a drone coming. How contemporary. Because he's just like, not a bad choice. I mean, as one purveyor of death and destruction to another, yeah, Waller has my respect. I was wondering when yeah, they find out, there's less than 10 minutes before the drone arrives, and the speech, the toast. I wasn't entirely sure what he was going to say. I thought maybe it would be similar to a scene in the Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. I won't give away exactly which. You probably know if you've watched enough to know. Yeah, I thought it worked really well that he just tells them the truth, because they're not gonna want to stay there with that. Yeah, and it was also just so cathartic for him to say the truth, and yeah, very cool when Tiger saved Lila. And so they, let's see, they get into the car, and yeah, Dig, there's the thing about, give me one reason, and he says Zoe, and yeah, if he really, we know he loves Zoe clearly, so this is a way for him to, if he could really redeem himself, he could be part of her life. It's not that he doesn't want to be there for his daughter. It's that he feels she would be better off. And this is something that there are a number of young cishet men. I don't know if it's exclusively or primarily white, but, yeah. This idea of thinking that loved ones are better off, if oneself is not in their lives. And yeah, it's really important to challenge that idea. and they say the lift does nothing to help with the male loneliness crisis. Now, I think that does bring us to, yeah, so they get into the car, and the drone moves away from the building, and yeah, really clever. And again, Deadshot's not like, oh, I'm gonna get that Amanda Waller. He's like, props. She really is very efficient. We should exchange contact information after this, because she really know. Yeah. And they have to remove the little bomb thing, and that's how yeah, she says she's going to put them in the spine from now on so that you can't cut it out. With Full House quote. Take a drink if you repeated what I said. I should go back and rewatch some Very Mary Kate. It's been a while. I'm very, very fond of that yeah, particular series. In general, she's so funny. Let's see. Yes, so the okay, I'll just very briefly note, if you haven't already watched, it's an old College Humor video. I think it's called In the Event of a Crash. Fantastic. Yes, so the yeah, Waller noting, how did Dig find out where the yeah, explosive was kept, and it's like, did she realize about? And yeah, she says she's never going to send, or pretty much implies that she's not going to send Dig on more, which, yeah, I can think of at least one name of someone from the comics that I could picture leading the Suicide Squad instead. So, yeah. Let's see. I think, doesn't that bring us to the... Right. It was great when Oliver goes, he uses the information he got from Bratva, and he finds the Bratva guy with an arrow in his eye, and, video of Shadow playing on the wall. So yeah, he knew, he found out and got to, yeah. It's going to be really difficult for Oliver to stop Slade. They are doing such a good job. Like, I can hardly wait to see more of it play out. And I'm really glad that the actress playing Shadow, is being brought back for these little, yeah. It's, it can sometimes be too bad when an actor leaves a show when their character is killed off. And yeah. Yes, and by the end, Oliver, very, very nicely done. He, yeah, he went to talk to Waller, and trank darted one, someone working in there, and they, yeah, he gets some information, because they, and yeah, she figures it's there's no way that Slade is alive. And I think that pretty much covers. But yeah, and he is now referred to as Deathstroke, which, again, something I have been waiting for them to do, as they do in the comic. So very nicely done there. I think that does, but yeah, I appreciate. So by the end, now he's gonna have at least a little bit more information on Slade, because they've been tracking him for a while. They just didn't know that it was Slade. And I feel like there's one more thing that I really wanted to make sure to say about this particular episode, so I'm just gonna real quick mentally fast forward through the entire episode, and let's see. So it was, oh yeah, I did like the thing, yeah, Oliver, being like, I thought you hated swimming. I do, and so does Thea, but Moira lies. Or is it power lines? And yeah, still doing a good job on this thing, because it's like, well, is that a lie to get elected, or is that just because she just can't help but lie? Because like at the end of the day, I mean, it's a politician. It's let's see, it's a get me elected kind of lie. It's not like, there are significantly worse lies told by politicians than, like, okay, it's a big deal. Like, it is true that, like, there are many people who have had much better lives because they had access to, they were able to start swimming at a young age. I forget who, but there was a YouTuber who pointed out that, there was a while where people were like, oh, black people just can't swim. And then, someone pointed out, well, there's a lot of young black people who don't have access to, like, a pool where they can train swimming as a number of upper class young white people do. That's really more what's going on there, so yeah, very nicely done. They're doing a fantastic job. I genuinely am not sure where they're gonna land, if she is going to be redeemed, or if the yeah, I think that does. Let's see. Right, and as far as I can tell, Oliver is indeed not living in the estate anymore. As, because like Moira said, that he shouldn't come by anymore if he's going to be so rude to her guests. Yeah, I think that does cover the, I feel like there's one more thing, but let's see. What was it? I appreciate the way that, Deadshot's character is, gradually getting more depth. And there, it is this thing of like, well, maybe it isn't impossible for him to become more of an anti-hero and less of a villain. And the thing about, maybe, if you keep doing this for years, you could be exonerated, you could, or pardoned, not exonerated. Yeah, they have some of the same letters in them, those two words. And, he jokes, we both know I won't make it that long. Which is not the same as saying that he wouldn't want to make it that long and be able to see his daughter. Like, there's a lot about his character where it is basically the fact that, he's been killing for so long and has seen so much death and pain that it's difficult for him to be optimistic about his own situation, though he is, he wants to help his daughter. I feel like there's one more thing that I really wanted to... Let's see. But what was it? Let's see. So the... Yeah, it wasn't that. Because that's something... Maybe there was everything that... Yeah, so the... there's definitely... Right, and we see, so... what's the word? Job hunting. Laurel is trying to figure out, what to go for there, and, making a joke, but, trying. She is trying to put her life back together. And yeah, really appreciate, like, I know I've said it before, but I think it is very frustrating when a show just stays in the same rut for a really long time. It doesn't really evolve characters and relationships. And so far, Arrow has done a really great job of that, of, putting these characters in new circumstance so we can see how they handle different things instead of just, like, coming up with one thing for them to do and just, like, taking forever to get through that one thing for entirely too many of its characters, not unlike Lost. In my defense, it's been a little while since I last talked about how disappointed I was in Lost.